dedication vow to Jehovah. Brother Neil, tell us a little bit, first of all, what helped you to share more fully in the ministry.
Well, first, being laid off from my full-time job. At the time, I was, as mentioned, a shy, timid, 19-year-old unbaptized publisher living in Central Ohio. Up to that point, my participation in the ministry was minimal and somewhat of a struggle for me. There was a pioneer brother about my age in the congregation, and when I told him I was now unemployed, he encouraged me to join him and the other pioneers in the ministry since I had time on my hands. I took him up on the invitation, and as a result, I quickly gained more confidence speaking to people. Not long after this, I was baptized and later joined them in the pioneer work. Within a month after my baptism, I had the privilege of conducting a Bible study with two fleshly brothers who eventually got baptized.
Outstanding. Well, I understand that your pioneering then led to Bethel service, and now suddenly you find yourself witnessing in New York City. A challenge, right?
Yes. I was assigned to a congregation on the west side of Manhattan. Tall buildings, traffic, crowds, noise, subways, it was all very intimidating. But after a while, I did what had helped me back in Ohio. I started working with the local pioneers on the weekends. Now, they were a group of older sisters who were utterly fearless in the ministry, and they helped me learn how to navigate all the unique aspects of field service in a big city. In time, I no longer felt so intimidated. And I would also like to mention something else that's been a big help to me. Since my early days in New York City, I've had the practice of saying a silent prayer at every door so that I could have the courage to speak to whoever was on the other side.
Wonderful. Good partners and prayer. Good combination. So how has sharing more fully in the ministry led to your being a happier person?
Well, over the years, I've learned that I'm happiest when I'm out in service with my friends. Of course, seeing good results is also a source of happiness. I remember one couple that a brother and I met while doing street work. The wife immediately showed interest in the Bible, and after some discussion, she said this was what she had been looking for her whole life. Now, although I didn't personally study with the family, they spoke another language, I was happy to hear later that she and all her children eventually came into the truth. So the ministry has provided me an opportunity to really help people, to have good association with my brothers and sisters, and most of all, to honor Jehovah. There's nothing like it.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for sharing that, Brother Neil. We appreciate your experience. Well, in addition to joy that we get in the ministry, as you no doubt have already begun experiencing as an unbaptized publisher, what about the joy we receive from giving to our spiritual family? Well, why not make it a habit of taking notice of how your spiritual family might need assistance? For example, are there some in your congregation that may need assistance in running errands? Can you go to the grocery store for them, or perhaps give them a ride if they have to get to a doctor's appointment? Can you show personal interest in other ways? Do they need a meal? Would they benefit from some help cleaning the house or home repairs? Those efforts are treasured by Jehovah as if you were giving to him. They will give you joy supporting others in what you do. In fact, if you think a little bit about many of our original songs, our music videos, as you look at your brothers and sisters in those videos, there's a good chance that they're smiling because they're giving, either giving in the ministry or giving to their spiritual family, maybe showing hospitality to someone or encouraging someone. They're giving their power to honor Jehovah by caring for his people. Another way that you could give would be to support your pioneers, maybe working with them in the ministry so that they can have association and not be by themselves on a long day. Or perhaps you can work with others early in the morning or late in the evening when their schedule permits. What about new ones in the congregation? Could it be that you might be able to make them feel at home, to make them feel like they're part of your spiritual family in your congregation? Perhaps the elderly would appreciate someone just to come and visit and listen to them and talk with them at times. Or there may be those who are sick in the congregation who need assistance as well. Well, someone who is fondly known for doing all of that is with us today. Her name is Sister Becky Benitez. And Sister Benitez, we'd like you to tell us a little bit, please, what motivates you to support others in the ministry as you have?
When I was growing up, my parents were raising 6 children on a farm, and they always encouraged us to be zealous in the ministry and to pioneer. But before we were old enough to drive, a dear sister so lovingly came by during the week to pick us up to help us so we could pioneer. Later on, when I was the only regular pioneer in the congregation, many of the sisters adjusted their schedules so that they could help me in the afternoons and I wasn't working alone. So their willingness to help me reach my field service goals motivates me to help others.
Outstanding. What about new ones? I understand that you have helped others that are maybe new to the congregation to make them feel at home.
When my husband and I went to Bethel, we moved from a very small congregation to a very large one, and I felt lost, like that new kid at school feeling. We didn't know anyone, we didn't have any Bible studies, but Jehovah answered our prayers by providing a family who made us feel at home. They often had us over for dinner, they worked with us in the ministry, so the love they showed us impelled us to do the same for new ones in our congregation.
Oh, that's beautiful. Appreciate that. What about the older ones in the congregation? We know that sometimes they have very specific needs. I understand that you've even had the opportunity to spend the night with them, even overnight in the hospital at times with a Bethel schedule. That can't be easy. But why do you do it?
My Grandpa Jack and my Aunt Myra were both housebound when I was growing up, but despite a busy schedule, we were trained to always look after the older ones. So we visited them every day so they felt loved and never left out. Knowing how that affected them has motivated me to give special attention to the older ones in our congregation.
Beautiful. Now, how has all of this, you help others in the ministry, new ones in the congregation, older ones, how has it given you a special kind of joy?
Even though it means sacrificing some of our time, knowing that we're helping someone else reach their field service goals makes us happy. And by going out early in the morning, we've been able to start 2 new Bible studies. But also, when we help the older ones, we get to know their non-witness children. And as a result, we've been able to start 5 Bible studies with their family members. All of them have been to the Kingdom Hall, and one of them just recently became a publisher. So giving to Jehovah in these ways brings blessings that make any sacrifice worth it.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. There is another fringe benefit, if you will, to